I moved into Ashwood Heights for the peace. After a long career in construction, I wanted quiet mornings, a patch of green to tend to, and a neighborhood where people smiled as they passed. The houses here were charming, each with its own character. And while there was technically no official HOA listed on my property deed, there was always this woman, Marla Jennings. She wasn't elected, appointed, or voted in, but everyone called her the HOA president like it was a fact. She walked the streets like she owned them, clipboard in hand, with that pinched expression like she was always sniffing something foul. I had no real issues with her at first, just the usual unsolicited comments. Your lawn's half an inch too high, or trash bins shouldn't be visible from the curb. I figured she was just lonely or bored, and I wasn't about to get into a spat over hedge lines. But it started getting weird when she began telling people she had approval authority over renovations. That caught my attention, especially because I was planning to build a small covered carport on my side yard. Nothing fancy, just a shade structure for my truck. I filed the proper paperwork with the county, got my permits, and even checked the zoning. Everything was legal. A week after the frame went up, I came home to a bright orange notice slapped on the post. It wasn't from the county. It wasn't even official looking. It just said, violation, non-HOA, compliant with her signature at the bottom in red ink. I laughed at first, honestly. Thought maybe it was a prank. But then I got a typed letter in my mailbox with her fake letterhead, demanding that I remove the structure within 7 days or face a $200 daily fine. I called the county. They had no idea who she was. That's when the red flags really started waving. I tried to be civil. I walked over to her place, knocked on her door, and explained that this wasn't an HOA neighborhood and that she had no authority to issue fines. She smiled, actually smiled like I was some naive new kid, and said, maybe not to you, but this neighborhood has standards, and I uphold them. She had this smug look like she'd rehearsed the line. I left without arguing, but I wasn't done. That same week, she started ramping up her campaign. I'd find little notes on my fence, on my windshield, even once on my dog's collar, all with vague warnings like the neighborhood is watching or don't make us escalate. It was creepy, and worse. It was affecting how neighbors looked at me. Folks who used to wave now crossed the street. One guy, Doug, from 2 houses down, told me Marla had been spreading rumors that I was running an illegal business from my garage, that I was building unapproved structures that lowered property values. I couldn't believe it. Then one evening, I came home and found the side panel of my carport slashed. The wood was splintered like someone had taken a crowbar to it. I checked my cameras, but someone had covered the lens with duct tape. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just annoying anymore. It was targeted. It was harassment. And I wasn't going to let it slide. I spent the next weekend installing new cameras, real ones this time, with cloud backups and motion alerts. I printed every letter she left. I took photos of everything, the damage, the notices, the footprints in my flower beds. And then I filed a formal complaint with the sheriff's office. While the deputy was polite, he said unless I caught her in the act, it'd be hard to press charges. But I could tell he'd heard of her before. He told me I wasn't the first neighbor to complain about Marla playing pretend HOA, so I took it further. I called a local reporter. I showed her everything: the fake notices, the letters, the photos of damage. Turned out, Marla had pulled the same stunt in her last neighborhood, under a different last name. The story ran online a week later. Fake HOA president terrorizes quiet suburb. It went viral fast. Neighbors who'd been afraid to speak out started commenting, sharing their own experiences. Suddenly, I wasn't the outsider anymore. I was the guy who stood up. But the best part came 2 days after the article dropped. A black SUV rolled into the cul-de-sac county code enforcement and a real sheriff's investigator. They went straight to Marla's house with a folder of complaints. I watched from my porch as she stood on her lawn, arms crossed, still trying to talk her way out of it. But they weren't buying it. The next morning, a formal cease and desist was posted on her door, along with a warning that impersonating an HOA official was a misdemeanor offense. That afternoon, she was forced to publicly retract all fines and notices she had issued. Neighbors started trickling over that evening, some bringing beer, some just awkward apologies. I wasn't angry at them. I got it. Marla had bullied people into silence for years, but she couldn't bully the truth. The carport, still standing. In fact, I added lights, decorative, but bright enough for any future trespassers to reconsider. As for Marla, she put her house up for sale within a month. No one threw a goodbye party. And me, I got my peace back. I got my driveway back. And for the first time in a long time, I got to enjoy my porch with a cold drink in hand, knowing that sometimes standing your ground isn't about yelling the loudest. It's about being the last one still standing when the smoke clears. I moved into Ashwood Heights for the peace. After a long career in construction, I wanted quiet mornings, a patch of green to tend to, and a neighborhood where people smiled as they passed. The houses here were charming, each with its own character. And while there was technically no official HOA listed on my property deed, there was always this woman, Marla Jennings. She wasn't elected, appointed, or voted in, but everyone called her the HOA president like it was a fact. She walked the streets like she owned them,